Hello and welcome to Wednesday Bible Study. How you doing? Hope you're hanging in there in the midst of all this continuing confusion that we are all dealing with. And I hope that some way, somehow you're finding some peace and some solace and some guidance in the midst of all of this. And I think a good place to look for that is the old Bible. So welcome to Wednesday Bible Study, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Old Testament text for this Sunday, which is from Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah. And as you know, prophets in the Old Testament, like Isaiah, speak for God. God speaks to the prophet, and the prophet speaks to the people. In this case, it's the people of Israel. But bear in mind that very often what is happening is, not very often, but God is speaking to us through these prophets as well, and that's why we read the Bible. So what we have today from Isaiah chapter 5, verses 1 through 7, is a love story. It's a love song, and that's how Isaiah refers to it as, a love song. So whether you're an aficionado of country music or not, and it's not just country music, I'm kidding. But how do songs about love usually end? Not usually that well, do they? And why is that? Well, it's because typically one of the two parties is not very faithful in that love relationship. The same can often be said for you and I in our relationship with God in Jesus Christ. We are unconditionally loved, but too often we don't recognize it. We don't act like it. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the story from Isaiah. It begins, "Let me sing for my beloved, my love song concerning his vineyard." Now, the gospel text for this Sunday is about a vineyard analogy, so the Old Testament text has an allusion to a vineyard as well. "My beloved had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. He dug it and cleared it of stones and planted it with choice vines. He built a watchtower in the midst of it and hewed out a wine vat in it." So, this love song begins with the lover, in our case, God, taking immense, sincere, genuine care of this vineyard, loving this vineyard, lavishing time and energy and compassion on this vineyard, lavishing time and energy and compassion and care for you and I. So as a result of this, it says he expected it to yield grapes, but it yielded wild grapes. "And now, inhabitants of Jerusalem and people of Judah, and now inhabitants of the United States, Wausau, the village of Maine, and the people thereof, judge between me and my vineyard. What more was there for me to do that I have not done? When I expected it to yield grapes, why did it yield wild grapes? And now the consequences. And now I will tell you what I will do with my vineyard. I will remove its hedge, and it shall be devoured. I will break down its wall, and it shall be trampled down. I will make it a waste. It shall not be pruned or hoed. It shall be overgrown with briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it." So what happens to the vineyard? Now, this is not a story about you not being as faithful as you should be, and therefore the old man in the sky is going to wreak havoc on your life. No. It's about you and I not responding to this unconditional giving of love from God. And as a result, what happens in our lives? Do our lives get better and more productive and more fruitful? No. The walls break down. Care is not taken. Weeds sprout up, and the crop is ruined. This text from Isaiah concludes, "For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel and the people of Judah. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is you and me." They are his pleasant planting. We are his pleasant planting. He expected justice, but saw bloodshed. Righteousness, but heard a cry. So, as is often the case in popular music these days, country or otherwise, when we have songs about love, very often they don't end well, because one party typically does not engage in that love affair as forthrightly as the other person. The same, unfortunately, can be said of you and I. We are unconditionally loved by God. Not sure what that might look like for you in your life, but you are. And yet, we too often don't recognize it, don't understand it, think we don't experience, don't see it. And as a result, the relationship breaks down. And when you're not living fully in a relationship with God as revealed in Jesus Christ, I believe that you're not connected to the universe. You're not connected to who you were meant to be. And as a result, the hedges are removed. The crops are devoured. The walls break down. Things are trampled. And it is made a waste. So, not necessarily a prophetic prescription of what needs to happen or what will happen, but a loving suggestion of what you ought to do with your life, how you ought to live it fully in response to the fullness of God's love for you. That's all I got. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. On Facebook, you can make comments if you have questions about things that I've said. If you have doubts or don't agree with things I've said, please make a comment and I'll respond. So join us this Sunday. Worship service outside, 9 o'clock. Looks like it's going to be kind of cold. We're going to be outside for October, so be prepared. Get your jackets and your blankets and your hot chocolate and your hot cocoa. I guess that's the same thing, isn't it? Your hot chocolate and your hot coffee, and come to church 9 o'clock Sunday morning. So again, as we go out into the uncertainty of this continuing pandemic, let's do some things. Let's use our heads, okay? Let's wash our hands and wear those masks and keep the faith. God bless you. Amen.